Before we begin, please check out the voice actors Nick Cortez and the Shapeshifter. Their links will be in the description. Let's start the story during Revenge of the Sith. Mace Windu commanded that Anakin wait in the council chambers until he's returned, but this was not something Anakin could do. He needed Palpatine alive to help him save his wife Padme, and couldn't let Windu unalive him. He left and flew to Palpatine's office, exited his ship, and ran through the halls with purpose. But as he does this, he looks to his left and sees Yoda, who's returned from Kashyyyk prematurely. He did this because he sensed a disturbance in the Force, that something was wrong, the normal currents becoming turbid, which told him he was required back on Coruscant. They group up together and continued advancing forward until they enter Palpatine's office to see Mace Windu with his lightsaber drawn towards Palpatine, standing over him defeated. Windu looks to his right to see the two Jedi, and a sense of relief washes over him. The three strongest Jedi are here, and now there's no escape for Palpatine. They rush over, and Palpatine looks over to Anakin for help. In his mind, he wondered how Yoda was there. He strategically placed him on Kashyyyk to be away from Coruscant at this very moment, and him being here will trouble things.
Anakin, I told you it would come to this. The Jedi are taking over!
The oppression of the Sith will never return. You have lost.
No, you are no!
As Palpatine cracks lightning at Windu, whilst Anakin took a step back in shock. He didn't know what to do. He needs Palpatine. He cannot let Windu kill him. He looks back and forth. His mind goes crazy. Yoda notices this and can sense the conflict in Anakin. He sensed that Anakin wanted Palpatine to live, not because he's been a lifelong friend and mentor. No, there's more to it. Anakin thinks he needs Palpatine's help, but with what? Yoda thinks back to the nightmares that Anakin told him and realizes that Palpatine must be involved and behind everything. He must have offered Anakin a solution to his nightmares, something the Jedi Council could not, and Yoda acted before the conflict could take over Anakin. He somersaults over, ignited his blade, and chops off Palpatine's left wrist, causing him to disengage his lightning. Palpatine shrieks in pain as he underestimated Yoda. Windu stepped forward to finish him off, but Yoda stops him.
Disarmed Palpatine is. To kill him is not the Jedi way.
Anakin panicked for a second, but after hearing Yoda speak, a sense of relief washes over him. They put his hands behind his back, putting him in handcuffs, and carried him off to the Jedi Temple. Palpatine's temporarily taken to the Jedi holding cells in the basement of the temple, whilst Yoda goes to talk to Bail Organa and the rest of the Republic Security Council about the arrest. Windu and Anakin go back to the council chambers, where an emergency council meeting is taking place. Windu debriefs everyone on what's transpired, but halfway through turns to Anakin, telling everyone that Palpatine's defeat could not have happened without the help of Anakin Skywalker, and he believes he has earned the rank of Jedi Master. Anakin stands, walks towards the center of the chamber, and everyone in the room stands and ignites their blades as Windu announced that Anakin Skywalker has now become a Jedi Master of the Order. Anakin was ecstatic with his promotion. However, in the back of his mind, fear and doubt still clouded his thoughts regarding Padme. But now he had another option to try, as after the council meeting, he went straight to the Jedi Archive's restricted section and spent hours researching the power to cheat death and save the ones he cared about from dying. However, after reading for what felt like an eternity, Anakin couldn't find any answers, and no such power existed in the archives. His fear only grew, and decided it was time to leave. But as he left, he bumped into Obi-Wan, who's just returned from Utapau after defeating General Grievous. Kenobi congratulates Anakin on his promotion, saying that together they've won the war, and finally don't have to fight anymore. Obi-Wan expected Anakin to be happy about this, but he couldn't help but notice he was not, and rather wore a distressed look on his face. Kenobi asked him what's wrong, but Anakin simply said he was tired and walked away. Kenobi let him go, but decides he'll check in on him in the morning. However, instead of leaving the temple, Anakin decides he must visit one last stop before home. He takes the elevator down to the floor where Palpatine is being kept. He's his last option. Although he doesn't want to accept the dark side, he cannot accept letting Padme die, and will do whatever he can. He enters the Jedi holding quarters, as he has authority now because he's a master and member of the Jedi Council. He walks in to see Palpatine staring back at him with a subtle smirk on his face.
I knew you'd come to find me. I can help you, Anakin.
The cell was plain as Palpatine sat with his new robotic hand, and remaining right hand bound by energy cuffs.
You cannot hide your fear from me, my boy. It is written all over your face.
Anakin's jaw tightened.
Don't call me that.
Palpatine raised an eyebrow, feigning ignorance.
Oh, but you are, my boy. Yet here you are, trembling, uncertain. You came here because you know the Jedi cannot give you what you seek.
I came to ask you one question. Is it true? Is it possible to save people from dying? To cheat death?
Palpatine leaned forward, as his expression shifted more serious.
The power exists, Anakin. It is very real. I have studied it, but only I know its secrets, and I can teach it to you.
The conflict soared up inside Anakin. The dragon that was the dark side was rising and fighting back against Anakin's good conscience. He thought of Padme, her laughter, the child she carried.
If that's true, then why didn't you use it? Why didn't you save yourself from this?
But then a thin smile crept across Palpatine's face.
Oh, but I have saved myself from a certain point of view. Even now, I am not defeated. I knew with Mace and Yoda in my office, we could not speak like this. I allowed myself to be captured, to speak to you, to offer you this gift, because I care about you, Anakin. You are a son to me, the son I never had.
Stop it.
Anakin growled, but his voice lacked conviction. Palpatine leaned forward, as if he hadn't heard.
The Jedi will never teach you this power. They fear it. They fear you. They see you as a tool, a weapon to wield in their war. But I do not see you in this way, Anakin. I see you for who you truly are, the chosen one, destined to bring balance to the Force.
Anakin cast back.
All you want to do is use me and my power. How do I know this really exists? No, I'm starting to think it doesn't.
And of course Anakin would be right. Palpatine hadn't mastered the ability of his former Master Plagueis, but used this illusion to manipulate Anakin.
No, Anakin, it is true. You know it's the only way. Save Padme, save your child, free me from my shackles here, and we can achieve it together.
Anakin caught his breath. The temptation was overwhelming, but as Palpatine's words echoed in his mind, yet the laughter and smile of Padme combated this. He couldn't do it.
The Jedi don't use me. You wanted me to fail so you could control me, but I won't let you.
Anakin turned on his heel and went to leave, as Palpatine had one last request.
Anakin, by due of the Republic law, I am allowed one call to contact whom I wish. Yet I have not been granted this. Please, Anakin, allow me this. It is my right.
Anakin's jaw clenched in frustration as he thought back to Palpatine and how good he's been to him over the years, and that in the past he really did see him as his father. Anakin exited the room and turned to the clone commander, telling him to allow Palpatine to use his communication device to make one call and one only. The clone nodded and headed in behind Anakin, who made his way out. But this was a mistake from Skywalker. The clone guard held up his communication device to Palpatine, who contacted Mas Amida, one of his loyalists, and told him to connect his communication line through to the frequency used by clone commanders around the galaxy. He did this, and Palpatine uttered the words, Execute Order 66. Palpatine was the Chancellor still, and hadn't been stripped of this title, and still had the authority to execute the order. It was still the same day when he was defeated, and he hadn't originally been replaced yet, which allowed him to execute the order. He felt it in the Force, the death of Jedi all around the galaxy, as the dark side began to rise. The clone guard led him out of his cell, and he knew he needed to make an escape. A Jedi Knight rushes through the corridor to check up on Palpatine, as they've sensed a shift in the Force, but Palpatine simply cracked his neck with the Force and steals his lightsaber, an outer Jedi robe to disguise himself. His main goal is to escape. He can sense the tens of thousands of clones heading towards the Jedi Temple, and will use this distraction to group back up with the Senate. There's no doubt the council will come for him first, so he's got no time to waste. He uses the stairs to reach the levels above and pull the grey cloak over his head and conceals his darkness in the Force and simply walks towards the exit. The Jedi around him are too preoccupied with the clones' advancements and death of Jedi around the galaxy. This corrodes their connection to the light side, as Palpatine is essentially invisible to them. He remembered the layout of the schematics of the Jedi Temple for any moment like this, making his way around every corridor, past the youngling quarters, through the training gardens. Only 2 more corners, and he was in the foyer, where he could already hear the clones' blaster fire echoing. He turns the final corner, only to see the last 2 people he'd ever wanted to come in contact with, Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. The 2 of them make direct eye contact with Palpatine. Anakin's anger surges, as he knew Palpatine was behind this. The Sith Lord sends a preemptive lightning strike at Kenobi, attempting to take him out early, but Anakin rushes at him ruthlessly, which caused him to ignite the green lightsaber he'd stolen and blocked. Anakin continued advancing, with Obi-Wan, who'd caught up and put Palpatine on the back foot. Together the 3 of them danced around the corridor, using the layout to their advantage. Palpatine's age was not a factor in this fight, as he slashed his lightsaber with murderous intent at his 2 attackers, but Anakin and Obi-Wan only got better as the fight advanced. Palpatine swung at him, who used the Force to stop the blade, as Obi-Wan went for the killing strike, but Palpatine switched his attack from Anakin to defend from Kenobi, but this left him open, as Anakin thrust his blade forward with the speed of light through Palpatine's chest as he turned to look at Anakin, his fierce blue eyes hazed with determination. Palpatine slumped down as his head hit the back of the wall, and behind him exhaled his last breath, signaling his defeat. Anakin and Obi-Wan turned to each other, and without saying anything, went to the foyer of the temple, where the clones were advancing. They grouped up with the Jedi Council and announced Palpatine's death to them, which was a relief, as they were afraid he'd escape in this timeline. Because the entirety of the Jedi Council is on Coruscant during Order 66, they successfully fight back against the clones in the temple and prevent their advancements through the foyer. Bail Organa arrives at the temple and is met by Yoda, who discusses what has transpired, and alongside Windu and Kenobi, they go to the Senate to meet with the rest of the Republic Security Council. They successfully convince the Council to execute Order 65, which will cease Order 66 and prevent the clones from attacking and hunting down the Jedi further. They didn't tell them at this stage that the Chancellor had been killed, but the majority of the members could understand the Jedi being hunted down into genocide was not the answer. After this, the Council convenes in their chambers, and they discuss the losses and damage to the Jedi Order around the galaxy. They wonder how this could have happened, and Windu tells them that Palpatine must have had some control over the clones, in a way which they were oblivious to, but their investigations would soon discover the secret. But Anakin Skywalker, filled with guilt, stepped forward, admitting that he knew what had happened. He tells them that he went to visit Palpatine, to talk to him, and when he left, Palpatine asked for his one legal phone call by right, and only minutes later, the clones started hunting the Jedi around the galaxy. Silence encompasses the room, as Yoda asked Anakin why he would visit Palpatine. Anakin looks at Obi-Wan, and turns to the rest of the council, and tells them the truth, that he's been having nightmares of his wife, Padme Amidala, dying in childbirth, and Palpatine made him promises that he could save her with the power of the dark side, but only if he joined him. Visible gasps are heard, followed by mutters through the room.
Serious, are you, Skywalker?
Windu stands and proclaims that he wishes to revoke Anakin's mastership and calls for his immediate removal from the Jedi Order. But Kenobi counters this.
I don't think that's appropriate.
Neither do I, Master.
Yoda sits there with his hand on his chin, staring at Anakin, and the council members discuss the truth that has just been revealed. He feels the Force flowing through him, looking for answers. He attempts to feel the future of Anakin in the Force, and still sees his path is through being a Jedi Master. Yoda calls for silence, as the arguments between Windu, Kola, and Obi-Wan and Tin cease. As Yoda states that until a proper investigation is held, Anakin must be temporarily stood down as a member of the Jedi Council until they can make the entire truth of the situation. He suggests that the rise of the Sith and almost defeat of the Jedi Order must open their eyes to the fact that there are flaws within the Jedi Order, and maybe this is one of them. But he turns towards Anakin and tells him that it's likely the dark side and Palpatine planted those dreams, that Senator Amidala is not in danger, and he praised Anakin for not giving in to the darkness. However, the Jedi will assist Padme in giving birth and will ensure she will not die. Anakin was happy with this outcome, and actually went better than expected. He leaves and takes this news to Padme at their home, who was happy Anakin had survived and exposed Palpatine as the Sith Lord. The war was over, and she was happy they finally had everything they could dream of. But in that moment of excitement, Padme's water broke, and she could feel their child was on the way. Anakin contacted Obi-Wan and Plo Koon immediately, and they came to them at the Coruscant hospital. They waited in anticipation, Anakin extremely nervous at the moment in which they would be required to use their power to save Padme. However, the moment never came, and she successfully gave birth to the twins, Luke and Leia. Anakin felt a tremendous amount of joy, but also a sense of embarrassment, as Yoda was right. His dreams were manipulations of the dark side, and Padme was never in danger. Anakin spends a week with his family, his mind cleansed from any fear and anger, until he's called in front of the council. In that moment, Anakin states his failures as a Jedi, that he let the dark side cloud his judgment and also consume his soul. Yoda thanked Anakin for saying that the accountability and humility he's just displayed has only reinforced to him that he's made the correct decision. He states that Anakin will be allowed to stay in the Order, however for now will be stripped of his title from Master and suspended from the council for his deception. Anakin was content with this, and indeed had expected it. Yoda continues saying that the war could not have been won without him, and he did save the Order and fulfilled his role as the Chosen One. Kit Fisto chimes in, saying that after a thorough count, the Jedi Order's numbers have reduced to around 1,000, the Order's greatest cleanse since the Jedi-Sith Wars. However, Fisto proposes the question, that maybe a cleansing of the Order was needed, that the Jedi Order had lost its way so much, fallen so far out of hand, and away from the true path of the Force, that Anakin's role was essentially to cleanse both the Jedi and Sith. The council sat in silence as Obi-Wan spoke, telling them that the Jedi must learn from the mistakes of its past if they don't want to repeat the same errors. Yoda nods and states that he agrees, and the Order will undergo change. Anakin leaves the council chambers and head back to his wife to deliver the good news, that he's still allowed to be a Jedi. Padme hugged him deeply. She knew Anakin had to remain a Jedi. He was born to save people, and this was his true purpose, and without it, he would become lost. Anakin would eventually regain his position as Master and eventually rejoin the Council, where he would facilitate the much needed changes in the Jedi Order. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to watch What If the Jedi Council Allowed Anakin's Marriage and What If Anakin Was Expelled from the Jedi Order. Don't forget to check out Fantasy Sabers for our great NeoPixel replica sabers and Padawan sabers. We're also doing a giveaway for 100,000 subscribers for a free NeoPixel saber, so don't forget to subscribe and may the Force be with you.